How many of y'all want to be on the stairway to heaven? How many? Come on now, don't fool me. How many of you really want to go? Just stand up and sing a little bit of that now. Come on, come on, come on. Help him out a little bit. Way to heaven. Stairway to heaven. Stairway to heaven. How you gonna get there? How you gonna get there? Stairway to heaven. Amen. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. Amen. Amen. I heard somebody say that was before their time, but you got to stop telling stories. Y'all remember that song, don't you? Yeah. Who sang that? The OJs. Yeah. That's right. That's right. That's right. All right. But we got a little different version. See, they got a version that keeps you here. We got a version that takes you there. And yes, indeed. And let's give our house band again and a quiet round of applause for bringing that to the stage today. Now, we got some great gifts for you. You know, I've been promising this to you, and I'm going to tell you about this in a couple of ways. First off, this is the book you're going to get today. It's absolutely free, and it should whet your appetite for you to really start having. You might have more questions than you have answers after you read this, but this is the reason I want you to, because I want to stretch your understanding and help you to start thinking and being more proactive in your faith. I mean, I know a lot of us say we want to go to heaven, but most of us don't even know what it's like or where it is. We don't know if it's up Lincoln Street or over there by the mall. Or we don't have a clue. So I'm going to ask our house band to give us a little music here while our host team pass this out. So everybody gets one. So yes, everybody gets one. Absolutely free, no cost to you. This is a gift of us for you. Now, as they're passing that out, as I said, that's just going to whet your appetite. Now, there is another book. In fact, this is the main book that comes out of. And we only bought a few of these. And let me just tell you, I'm going to honestly tell you, do not waste your money buying one of these if you really don't plan to read one of these. This is about 400 and about 500 and some pages long. It's got a lot of scripture that you got to reference and all of that. In fact, it's almost like a seminary book. And if you want one of these, we'll get you one. But I'm telling you right now, don't waste your money. You'll never ever hear a person say that, right? I want you to read that book first, the free one. Read that one first. And if you don't think that that's enough and what we're going to teach during this series, then I would encourage you to get that for some deeper study, not for some dust collecting. How many of you got stuff at the house collecting dust? Yeah, don't buy another dust collector. You don't need to do that, but invest in something. Now, we start back up on our Wednesday nights and Sunday morning worship for growth groups, and there will be a free booklet that I'm developing for this study. And so I'm encouraging you to come out on Wednesday night. We will have these out there for you on Wednesday night. It's a complete workup of my research and my understanding. The book that you have is one of the resources that I use, but this would also be yours absolutely free, but you can only get that now if you come to the growth group either on noonday, and what time is that? That's right. See, some of y'all going like, noonday. Yeah, that's 12 o'clock on Wednesday, right? And then we'll start dinner, I believe, is at 6 o'clock, or is that what time? Start dinner, and then class will start at 7 o'clock on Wednesday evening. Now, it's going to be one big class. We're going to all be in here. We're going to have tables and chairs, and we're going to do some work. You're going to really have to bring your Bibles, and we're going to do some study. We're going to do some deep diving, all right? And when we finish up this series, you'll know whether or not you're going. You'll know whether or not you ought to be talking about stairway to somewhere else or elevator. We might need to get another song. Elevator to you know where. Ooh, ooh, ooh. right. Does everyone have a copy of the book? Who does not have a copy? Everyone's good? Okay, now I got some questions I got to ask before we get started here. The day's going to take me just a little longer, and let me just see here. Who's going to be my first my first contestant here? Yes, indeed. You shouldn't have looked away. You should not have looked away, Bobby. You should not have. Yeah, you just set yourself up. Let me just see here. Let me see. Let me see what I got in here for you. Here's your first question. Oh, no, that's an envelope. I got so much stuff in there. Now, there's nothing in that envelope. Let me see. Okay, yeah, here's your first question. Go ahead and take the mic. All right. Do you believe that this present earth that we live on and the present heaven will be completely destroyed or annihilated? If so, how? There's your question up there. Yeah, do you think this present heaven and earth will be completely destroyed or annihilated? If so, how? And if you can't answer the first part, we get somebody to answer the second part that agrees with you.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, okay. Who all says yes with her? Okay. All right, then come on, Brother Linda. If so, then how?
Well, it's going to be...
I don't need a long answer now. I saw where you were warming up. Because you got to leave me some preaching time. You know?
It's going to be destroyed by God.
Okay. Okay. Is that your answer? You going to stick to it? Okay. All right. Let's see who's going to be next. All right. Okay. Let's see. Don't be trying to look with no poker face. Look at you just trying to look real. You thinking you just trying to be ready? Okay, go ahead. Since you thinking, you don't even know what you're thinking about. You think about an answer to a question you don't even know. Now that's some serious thinking, isn't it? She thinking about an answer to a question she ain't even been asked yet. Boy, you in trouble. All right, but here's your question. Where do you believe believers go when they die?
I believe the dead in Christ rise first.
I ain't talking about rising. I say where they going when they die.
Go,
Yeah,
we have to go before God for Judgment Day before we make it to our final destination. So wherever that
might be, that's up there on Lincoln Street. Okay. All right. So that's it for this morning. That we let me see. Let me go back this way because I think I might need to return this. All right. So now let's open your Bibles. And the passage that we're going to look at, that we're going to start. And here's what I want to do, too. I want to encourage you. In fact, there's going to be in our booklet here that you'll get on Wednesday night for you to read Revelation 21 and 22. Okay? I need you to read it. In fact, in the booklet that we're printing up, we're going to actually put it in 3 different versions because I want you to learn how to read from different translations so that you can see that there's some understanding that you can get from one that you may not get from the other. But for today, we're just going to start looking at Revelation 21. And I want to look at the first 3 verses there. And the title of the message is going to be, I Can Only Imagine. And that's just such an awesome song. And we might want to just get ready to sing a little bit more of that. But look what John the Revelator says here. He says, then. You have to underline that word then, because that is important why he says then. He says, then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no more sea. I saw a holy city coming down, the holy city, the New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, what does it say? Beautifully dressed for her husband. He says, I heard a loud voice coming from the throne saying, look, some of your Bibles might say, behold, God's dwelling place is among the people, and he will dwell with them. No, it says what it says. Isn't that what it says? And now among the, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and he will And no, yeah, wait, we got to get this slow. And God himself will be with them, and he will be their God. Now walk with me here. The first thing we want to talk about here is the composition of the new heaven and the new earth. Now, this word heaven is found about 500 times in the scriptures, but 50 of them are found in the book of Revelation. So that ought to tell you something, that this writer here has a lot for us to learn about heaven. And I know many of us don't go in the book of Revelation, but let me just tell you what the book of Revelation is and what it is not. The book of Revelation is not for non-believers. It's a book for believers. It's a book to help us understand when you're going through something. You might just need to read the book of Revelation because you need to know how the story is going to end. And sometimes when you know how the story is going to end, it gives you the strength and the courage to run on. Because some of us have gone through some things and some of us are going through some things. And for some of us, life is going pretty well. But still yet, we all know that it's going to end. How many of you know that it's going to end? Okay, good. So I don't have to teach that lesson. All right, so now, when that word then starts, that's backing up several chapters where John has just been talking about how the evil had been destroyed and Satan had been locked up and all the horrible things that have happened on earth. And after all of that has happened, he says, then now, and he's standing in heaven, he says, then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. Now, this word new, in this context and in the Greek, doesn't always mean that it's not what it used to be. The word new is not really talking about chronologically in time. It's talking about something that has been made fresh and something that has a new quality and a new character and a new composition. And so what he's saying here now is that there's a new heaven and a new earth. Now, look at that. That means that he says next that what? That the first heaven and the first earth has passed away. Now that ought to be a literary clue for us. Now the question I asked you was, is God going to destroy the world completely? And most of you, how many of you said yes? Yeah, okay, all right. So let me help you out here. If he says there's going to be a new heaven and a new earth, and the first heaven and the first earth has passed away, he's talking about there's going to be some continuity of that which is going to be gone, to be just like or have some similarity to that which is gone. Are y'all walking with me? Let me give you an example. How many of you have heard about Noah? Not Yonderland's little boy. I know many of y'all heard about him. But how many of y'all heard about Noah in the Bible? Okay, now, how many of you heard about the flood? Okay, now, when it said that the flood did what? It destroyed the earth. But wait a minute, was the earth still there? Yeah, so what it did, it destroyed everything on the earth. Okay, so this word here, when it says that the earth, that the first heaven and the first earth has passed away, he's talking about it in the same sense about like the flood. But this time, it's not going to be done by water. What did God say he's going to do the next time? By fire. Now, why by fire versus by water? Because fire purifies. All right. Fire cleanses. And so this world as we know it, now we've seen some beautiful sights. Who's ever been to the Grand Canyon? Yeah, isn't it beautiful? Yeah, who's ever been to Niagara Falls? Yeah, isn't it beautiful? How many been to Hawaii? Yeah, how about, what's that place? Aruba. Yeah, how about Cozumel? Yeah, ooh, boy, y'all done got some money up in here. How about Vegas? Vegas ain't gonna be there. That's a setup question there, right? All right. So now, when God destroyed the world the first time, he did it through water. But notice now, when you go back and read that, that's really starting at Genesis, the 6th chapter, through about the 9th chapter. When you look at that, how long the earth was underwater, the water started to recede, all right? And when it started to recede, Noah started sending out birds. And there was one bird that brought back something in his beak. Anybody know what kind of bird it was? a dove, and he brought back a leaf, and that leaf, we call it an olive branch, meant life had been restored. And so what's going to happen when this new earth and this new heaven appears? This first earth, because it is cursed, everything in it is dying, everything in it is decaying, everything in it is cursed. Even the heavens are cursed. Do you not know that stars are losing its power? That means they are decaying, they are disintegrating. I was on the web looking, and there's some crazy stuff out there, how much longer earth has to live. And it's all based on the sun itself. And they believe that the sun is eventually going to start burning up the earth, and that the earth isn't going to be able to get out of the orbit of the sun, and that this is going to happen anywhere from 10 to 100 billion years. Based on their math. I tell them to wait on it. Yeah. And so there's all of these formulas. How many of you are worrying about global warming? Yeah, go ahead and raise your hand. Go ahead. It's going to get warm. You don't have to worry about it. Stop worrying about it. The Bible tells us it's not going to get warm. It's going to get hot. Yeah, it says that it will be destroyed by fire. So in it, though, it won't lose. It won't be completely annihilated or completely destroyed. Now, some of you might say, well, Pastor, how do you know that? Well, I'm going to tell you how I know that. But I'm not going to tell you how I know that. I'm going to tell you I know that. No, come on out Wednesday night. But I'm going to tell you right now how I know that. But really, come on out, because we're going to go a little bit deeper. Now, do anybody remember that in Genesis, in chapter 3, that Adam and Eve sinned? Y'all remember that? All right. And because they sinned, God said that the earth was cursed. Is that correct? Are y'all walking with me this far? Now watch this though. But before that, in chapters 1 and 2, everything that God made, he says was what? Good. And after everything was made in humanity, he says it was what? Very good. Now, Satan, his only job is to do what? Kill, seek, and destroy. Now watch this. Walk with me here now. So if God has to totally destroy this earth, all right, then Satan wins. You ain't catch it. You see, because that's what Satan wants to do. He wants to kill, seek, kill, and destroy. He wants to destroy anything that God has made. He wants to be able to wipe out anything that God has done. And so God says, you know what? I got all power in heaven and on earth. And because I do, you might have put a curse on the earth, but the earth, it still belongs to God. What does Psalm 24:1 says? The earth is the Lord, the fullness thereof, and all. Even Satan belongs to God. And so if he belongs to God, he cannot have more power than God. And even if he wants to take what God has and destroy it, he can't even destroy it because God has all power. Y'all know. Yeah. This ought to help somebody here, because see, the same way that God can restore and renew the earth, he can do the same to you and to me. And I don't care how bad you have messed up in life. Y'all not getting it, you see. I don't care how ruined you have. I don't care many things you have done. I don't care how bad your bad has been. Your bad ain't too bad. That's bad grammar, but that's good theology. It's not too bad for our God. That means he is able to do exceedingly abundantly more than you can. I told you I've been waiting for this, because some of us need to be delivered. See, when you understand about a new heaven and a new earth, you see we're created in God's image. And if we're created in God's image and he's got the power to restore our earth, and he's got the power to restore someone who's made just like him, who's made. But now what does this last little phrase mean here? But there was no more sea. Now, there's a lot of Greek and mythology and a lot of ancient history on why the seas were so threatening. And even now, water, I love the ocean. I love going out there, watching it go all the way out and come all the way back in and stop at my feet, go all the way out and come all the way back. But isn't that amazing how it just knows where to stop? Just as beautiful as it is just as dangerous as it can be. Because in a split second, God could say, keep going. And you cannot outrun it if God says, keep going. Tsunamis is what they're called. They're underwater earthquakes. That means that God can just say in a split second, water keep moving, and none of us could outrun it. And so just as powerful as it is, it's just as dangerous. So when God says there be no more sea, what is he talking about there? There's several things that we must understand. One, he's saying that the threat of it, those volcanoes, those tsunamis and all the hurricanes and all those other things, that water, because that's what? That's part of the curse. You see, God never intended for those things to be. And so he takes those things away and they won't be there anymore to harm us anymore. Isn't that good news? But here's what blew my mind though. See, how many of you know anything about why we need so much water? Y'all know that those oceans are one of the reasons we can live, because it produces what? Oxygen. Y'all didn't know that? Yeah, and anybody in here need that to breathe? Who doesn't? Raise your hand if you don't need any oxygen. You don't, sister right there, raise her. She said, you don't need any oxygen? So now watch now. I talked about the composition of the new heaven and the new earth. Guess what? It's got to be something wow, because we won't need the oceans anymore to help us breathe. How will we breathe then? Who breathed the breath of life into the first man? Yeah. So God is saying that even the world as it is right now, it won't be like that when he makes it into a new creation. He's going to recreate it. And another passage, I know I'm giving away summer Wednesday night, but I'm not giving it all. But I think it's 2 Corinthians, the 5th chapter, verses 17 through 19. I think Paul says that if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. All things become new. Now, when you got saved, were you completely annihilated? Were you completely destroyed? In fact, did folks still recognize who you are? They do? You mean your neck didn't turn all the way around? And you got 2 more hands and 3 more eyes and look like them folks on TV? That didn't happen. So when we see that, don't be so alarmed that we are going to a stairway of heaven. Now, let me slow down. And so I got to talk about this next piece. But there is a new heaven and a new earth. Now walk with me further. So let me give you some life advice. So what does this new heaven and this new earth mean to us? That the new heaven and the new earth will have everything we desire and nothing we don't. Isn't that beautiful? Everything you desire will be there and nothing we don't. That means there won't be any disease, there won't be any death, there won't be any decay, there won't be any catastrophes, there won't be any wars. Oh man, I can only imagine. As I sit there and just try to just think about that, I just get, can I be honest? I hope this is where you get, I'm not afraid to go. How many of you are afraid to go? Go and raise your hand. Tell the truth. Yeah, you are. You ain't going to raise your hand. You're afraid to raise your hand, but you're afraid to go too. Yeah. Some of you are. Some of you better be. And those of you who are not, you probably should be. And we're going to find out how many. Well, let me just slow down. So now let's look next now. Let's look at the city. Y'all see I'm excited. I'm trying to slow down. I get excited. Let's look at the city in the new heaven and the new earth. There's something unique about this city. Look at it now. Look at that text. I know you see it. First, it says it's the holy city. Y'all didn't catch that. Holy means it's pure, undefiled. That there's no sin there. There's nothing there that God isn't pleased with. That this right here is a city that God has designed. And can I help those folks out over in Israel that wants to save Jerusalem? Look what the text says. It's a new Jerusalem. So all this political power and political might that they're spending all of these dollars, even they were talking about moving the embassy to Jerusalem and all of that, like it's going to get them something. right? Look at the text. It says it's going to be a new Jerusalem. So all of this, the defense that they're putting up to try to save it so that they can be on Israel's side, it's a waste of time and it's a waste of money. It's a political football. The text tells us clearly, you see why we need to study our Bible? He says that's not the place we need to be worrying about. He's talking about there's a new Jerusalem. And look at this new city now. Look where it is. He says it's not over there. It's not anywhere in South America. It's not anywhere in Africa. It's not anywhere in Europe. It's nowhere in America. He says it's coming down out from heaven. Check that out now. It's God's city. This is the city that Abraham in the book of Hebrews was looking for. He said that Abraham was yearning for a city that's not made with man's or woman's hands. He's looking for the architect, and the architect of that city is God himself. He's saying that God himself is going to bring down this city, that his own city, and bring it down from heaven, that God is going to bring it down. It's a holy city. And look what he says, it's prepared, is beautifully dressed as a bride is for her husband. He's now talking about a relationship between God and his people. But what kind of people is it going to be? Clearly, if it's a holy city, it can't be but some holy people. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I get excited. Now, let me just move on. I could go on all day, but please come out either Wednesday morning or a noonday. What time is the noonday Bible study? Okay, good. Thank y'all for keeping me straight on that. And then the evening, we start at 6. We're going to feed you a little something, and then we're going to have class right in here. Bring your Bibles. Did I say that already? That's how excited I am. I don't want anybody to miss this right here. Now, walk with me here now. So it says here that this city is beautifully dressed. And there's a whole piece we can do in that, and time won't permit. But if I had to give you some life advice here about the holy city here, what would I tell you about the holy city? Come on, give me my life advice. What is it? I forgot it. Come on. There we go. The New Jerusalem is a prepared place for a divine purpose. That's what it is. Thank you, Holy Spirit. It's a prepared place. And who prepared it? God did. And so if God prepared it, it has to have a divine purpose. And so that means man can't mess it up. Man can't do anything to mess up what God has already prepared. And that ought to be good news for us. And so we can stop fighting over that dirt, y'all. They can let it go. It's not going to change the end of time. You see, and so, but we have countries all over the world, especially the United States. We want to stay on the good side of Israel. You better get on the good side of God. If you really want to be worried about whose side you need to be on and where you need to be spending billions of dollars and where you need to be invested, invest in the kingdom. Because he says, how many of you prayed the Lord's Prayer and said, thy will be done, right, on earth? Oh, y'all not catching it. See, when you start praying that prayer, what you're saying is, God, just like things are happening up there, we want you to bring it down here on earth. So when God brings down the holy city, just like we pray, like thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, that day is coming. So that's not a prayer that you just like say just because it sounds good. It's a prayer of reality that God is going to make it happen. And you just need to hold on to God's unchanging hand, that know that his will eventually will be done. So regardless of what you're going through, if you're a child of the Most High God, then God says, I got a place for you. Now, walk with me here. Look what it talks about next. It talks about the community of the new heaven and the new earth. And he says, then I heard a loud voice come from the throne. That's the throne of God saying that word, look or behold, means pay close attention. Don't miss this one here. He says, if you don't remember anything else, he says, look, look, God's dwelling place is among the people. God's dwelling place. Now, that takes those Jews back into an Old Testament place that there's a tabernacle. And when God has a tabernacle, it's saying that God is going to dwell there. And he says, and God will be with them. And then it says, and they will be his people. Oh, just stop right there. He's talking about there's a group of people that's going to be with God, and God is going to be with them. You got to go back again. Again, I need to put this in there, and I think I'll put this in there as well. But Genesis 1 and 2. You need to spend some time reading that because when you read Genesis 1 and 2, it talks about how good everything was. And before Adam and Eve sinned, we could see when you get to chapter 3 that they used to have visitations from God. How many of you want to have God visit you? How many of you want to be able to have a conversation with God? How many of you want to be able to walk with God and have God just walk with you? And so when one day when God came over to see Adam and Eve, they weren't in the living room, they were in the den hiding. Yeah, and God had to say, where y'all? What y'all doing over there? Yeah. Why? Because they had sinned. What does sin mean? They had broken fellowship with God. They had put something between them and between God. And it wasn't that God didn't want a relationship with them, but something sinful can't come into something that is sinless. Something holy can't come into the presence of something that is unholy. Something defiled can't come into the presence of something that is pure. So God had to put some separation between us, and there was a curse that fell over the earth. But in this text here, it says, look at the community of the new heaven and the new earth. It says God himself. I tell you, there's a lot of things that I like to see here. And I know that it's beautiful that this new heaven and this new earth is good. But the best part of the new heaven and the new earth isn't that this holy city is going to come down out of heaven. The best part of the new heaven and the new earth is not going to be the pearly gates that they're going to be there, and we are going to get to see them. The best part of the new heaven and the new earth is not going to be the streets that's paved with gold, and I do want to see the streets that's paved with gold. And the best part of the new heaven and the new earth is not going to be that there's going to be no more disease and there's no more death and there's no more dying. As powerful as that's going to be, and I know that it's going to be. And the best part of the new heaven and the new earth is not going to be my seeing my mother and my father. As exciting as that's going to be, I want to see them, but that's not the best part of the new heaven and the new earth. I know you didn't see it in the text, but it's right there before you, because it says, look, he says, behold, hold on to this. He says, God himself. Now that's all to get you excited. There's going to be a time when God himself, he said that he's going to be with his people, and he's going to be with them, and he's going to, now don't miss this, and he's going to be their God. What does that mean if he's going to be your God? That means everything that you ever stood in need of, everything, you'll be able to go into the presence of God all by yourself. You'll be with him 24/7, 365. You'll be able to say, Father, this is what I need, and you'll be able to talk to God, and you'll be able to have a conversation with God, and God says you'll be his people. Oh, that ought to be good news for somebody, because somebody's struggling with some things right now in your life. Somebody's getting beat down in their relationship right now here in your life. But if you know the Master, if God is your Savior, he said there is a day coming. There is a day when the wicked will cease from troubling. There is a day when the weary shall be at rest. There is a day when there'll be no more disease, and there'll be no more sickness, and there'll be no more death, and there'll be no more death. I can only imagine when I'm in his presence. I can only imagine the glory and the beauty that I can see. I can only imagine. I can't wait. If it were tomorrow, I would not be upset. But I say thank you, Lord, for being a God that has prepared a place. That has prepared a place for me. You ought to be thankful that no matter how great, no matter how good, no matter how well life may treat you, you're still living in a small closet. You're still not getting the best of the best. But even with all of those things, the best part of the new heaven and the new earth isn't anything. It's someone. It's not anything. It's someone. And so what is John telling us? That only a holy God can dwell with holy people. All right? Only a holy God can dwell with holy people. So if you want to be on that stairway to heaven, then we need to really look at our lives as we're living it now. And I'm sincere when I say this. I'm concerned about many of us who sit right here in this room, that we'll be good church folks, but we'll be hell-bound. So you won't get to see all that God has in store for you. I believe the Bible says, eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, all that God has prepared. All that God has prepared. So we can't even imagine. In all the beautiful places you have been, they're still cursed. But when God himself is there, just think about it, no night. Can you imagine? No night. Perfect weather. Perfect weather. We're going to talk about what age are you going to be when you get there. That next verse in 4 says there, he'll wipe away every tear, every sorrow. Whatever sorrow you're dealing with now, wipe it away. There's a whole lesson we're going to talk about that. That means more than we really can imagine. If I can only imagine. Can we just sing a little bit of that?